What is up, guys? Coop here, and today we're actually going to be doing something a little special for the channel. Since we've officially now hit 500,000 views, I thought this would be kind of a cool time to kind of reflect and look at where we actually began and how we got to the point where we are today. Now, as time goes on, we can start doing a little bit more reviews and kind of at every single milestone look back and see the humble beginnings and how we got to the point where we are. Now, I'm not the biggest YouTuber out there, and most of the YouTubers kind of go back and do this when they're a little bit bigger. But I thought this would be kind of cool to look back and see some of my original content, because a lot of that is now almost 7 years old. So let's actually dive in and look at where the humble beginnings of this channel actually originated from. So, taking a time machine back to all the way to 2011, August 1st to be exact, is when I made my first video. Now, this is back when the recording softwares were really difficult to come by. You pretty much had either Fraps or Bandicam or stuff like that in general, and one of the things that really sucked about those sort of ways of recording back then was a lot of them didn't convert to MP4s. You actually had to do it manually through stuff like Windows Movie Maker and whatnot. But this is actually the first video I ever did. It had copyrighted content because I added music to it. I think I added Paramore or whatever. And basically it was a boss kill video. This was specifically used for us to kill a boss called Magma. This is a 6s and 7s. This is one of my old guilds back in, I think, Kata. It was Kata, and then it went into Mop, and then we ended up changing and making our own guild later on. But it's really cool to see this video because it's not a full video. As you can see here, it was a tiny little screen of what it was actually, and not to mention it was recorded on a software. Now, what is cool is it doesn't have any watermarks, but later on you'll see I started getting other videos, because this would only record videos like this and it was free, but I wanted to actually get the full effect. So if we go back a little bit here, you'll start to notice that a lot of them have watermarks. If you look, so if you'll notice here, this is going to have a big fat one. It had all these annotations everywhere, and you can tell I made this in Movie Maker. A lot of my stuff I still make in Movie Maker, just because it's overall pretty good. But as you can see, I put the annotations over the watermark, which was a clever thing I did. And then I had this really crappy thing I made in Paint. Obviously, my graphic designing has gotten a little bit better over time, but still is not anywhere close to where it should be. But yeah, I used to rock that symbol and be proud of it, like it was something worthwhile. But you gotta keep in mind that was roughly 7 or 8 years ago, so I would have been, let's see, 13? 12? 13? So I was pretty young when I first started at YouTube, and it didn't take it took a little bit, but it didn't take long for me to eventually get the nicks of it. But I even made a video about ways to record when I didn't even know how to record myself, which I kind of find funny. You could tell I was just trying to learn how to pop up content. Now, some of the things that was really nice is I started my first series called Things to Do While Bored and Wow. This is roughly 2 years later after I started, and this is when I started to learn a little bit about how to do things, and this series actually popped off really well. It didn't used to have these views though. It had roughly at that time probably around 50 to 20 views. And the reason for that was I didn't know how to do tags. Nowadays I know how to do tags, and I've kind of went back to some of my older videos and redone the tags. So these exploded a lot more over time, but I started this series because I was completely bored in World of Warcraft, and I wanted to sort of figure out different ways to get about doing that and figuring out all these different fun activities that people can do. And I was yeah, let's present this out to the community and see what they think. I was very young, but I thought it was a very cool thing. You know, we had stuff like climbing Mount Everest naked and whatnot. Now, it is cool as I had a decent title, I had a decent episode thing, but I kind of lowercase the wrong things. I would have made climbing Mount Everest all capitals, not completely the whole thing, but the first letters at least, just to make it stand out. Just a little critique from me in the future now, but in general, that was one of my favorite series. We also did The Men Who Play Wizard 101, and that's just a joke. If you guys look at that, it's really funny to look at. And then from there, we started getting into betas and demos. So Dreadout was one of those more successful series I did. It had a huge fallout though. It went from 300 to 63 views like that, which kind of sucks because I think the second part of this is a lot better than the first part. But you never know. It is what it is. But back then I was still trying to figure out my internet persona, and I think it was around here is when I started using Fraps. So Fraps was very important because a lot of my videos started to not have watermarks and stuff, and they started to get more professional. The problem with Fraps was it had to be full screen, and you had to do it certain ways, and sometimes the numbers would pop up in the corners, and also those video files are huge. So recording a 30-minute video almost took up like half of the space in my computer, which is insane because it just the way the file was made. I don't know how to explain it, but the files were too big and they took up a lot of storage compared to nowadays where you can record on OBS and it's a nice MP4 file that you can just drop in and make a YouTube video about. It used to be a lot harder back then, especially trying to figure out things. Now, obviously, if you just tossed in money, it was easy, but I was a high school student without a job. Actually, no, I think during this time I was a middle school student, and so obviously shouldn't have been in YouTube back then, but hey, either way, to each their own. And then that's when I started making just a bunch of these videos. I did a channel update, which was weird because I had like 20 subscribers, 30 back then. So obviously I wouldn't make a channel update unless I had at least 500 subscribers nowadays, or actually 250. 250 is probably like the right amount to start doing channel updates, but I kept doing these channel updates, and what's really funny is I did like 2 videos and then I did another channel update. So that's another funny thing. I really don't think doing channel updates that often is important. Now I do catch myself sometimes making channel updates too often, and I'm like, no, just wait like a couple weeks. It makes it more easier to talk about a lot of content. Then I started my actual, I would say my first official real Let's Play series of the Pokemon trading card game. So I did like all the beginning solo missions, and that was a pretty good series. That one was actually kind of something I worked on. Now, what is kind of disappointing about what I did is I try to make all these videos come out at the same time. If you notice, it's like June 1st, June 2nd, June 2nd, June 2nd, June 2nd, June 3rd, and I released all these videos on one day. I would never do that nowadays. You can do the Brad method, I like to call it, because Brad, whenever a game comes out, he just pumps out these like part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4, part 5, like constantly as they come out. And some people do appreciate that, but nowadays you kind of need people to constantly come back to your channel. And you don't want them all just coming one day and then you having no content for like the next couple of days. It's important now to have like a schedule. That's what I've been working on now that I have this webcam and all this nice equipment. I have multiple videos for every single day now. So at least for the next 2 weeks, God knows what'll happen within the next couple of weeks. Maybe I have to like work extra hard or work extra hours at work, or have something popped up at schools. You never know. But in general, it's really nice to have that. And once again, we do another channel update, even though it's July 7th. So it's barely been half a month, and I'm already doing another channel update. And that channel update only got 5 views. But hey, it is what it is. Alright, let's go to the next page. I think that was the first page. So let's go to the second one. Second one is when the ball starts rolling a little bit. So from this, I started to get the YouTube formula, and I started to understand a little bit in copying what other famous YouTubers were doing out there. So I looked at myself and I said, okay, what are some things I can do? So I started doing more Let's Play series. So I did one about Magic the Gathering Tactics, which is a pretty cool game. I wish I could play that again nowadays, but it's one of those games that's heavy on DLC and you have to constantly keep buying stuff, and that's kind of lame. Once again, another channel update right after the previous one. This one's got a little bit of space to it, which is kind of cool, but still, I wasn't big enough to have channel updates. There wasn't enough going on in the channel. There's like 3 videos since the last channel update, so it's important that we kind of space them out a little bit. I know with me, I'm trying to now do a bi-weekly schedule, so hopefully that'll be a lot better, but yeah. And then from there, I got into the PTR of World of Warcraft 5.4, which was a really cool one. This one didn't get as many views as I thought it would be, but I didn't really care. This is like kind of the point of my channel where I started figuring out, like, okay, stop doing what other people are doing and stop trying to do like random Let's Plays of games that you really don't care about, and actually start doing things that I care about. So that's when I started doing like 5.4 videos, and then I started doing a video about Titan Magic. This was one of my first World of Warcraft speculation videos, and I really enjoyed this one. It didn't get as many views, but I don't really care. I had a fun time working on these videos, and there is going to be videos like that in the future for World of Warcraft on this channel, just because it's something I like to do. Speculation, World of Warcraft is such a rich game. It has a lot of lore. and especially with going in, it's kind of cool kind of walking around and seeing all these different references to Lovecraftian, Greek, and then you've got all these different little side stories, all these different references, Easter eggs. It's just really cool seeing that game and how diverse it is. And this was like one I had back then before obviously Chronicle came out. Then from there, I was working on a video game. I never got to finish that video game. It was actually kind of cool. I was learning how to use the Unity engine. That's what made me originally go to college for computer science, because I wanted to actually be a game designer. And it was awesome. I got really far, but towards the end, there's a lot of like, I could program a lot of the stuff, but I couldn't do any of the art assets. I couldn't make any creatures. It was like I had a sphere that could take damage, but I didn't have any death animation, so I would just make them like turn gray or something. So I didn't have enough to really understand that. I didn't understand animation work. I didn't understand how to do modeling, and I kind of ended up giving up on it, but it was really cool in general to do that. Then I continued the Magic the Gathering series. One of the things you're going to notice that I do part 2, part 3, but back then I had a title. So what I would have done is I would have done the title and said part 1, and then I would have kept continuing with the titles, or at least change this back to part 1. Just as a little critique from back then. Now, one of my other biggest videos that I did was Rift lore. So once again, I was like I was saying, I started to develop the approach of not being a 13-year-old kid who's just like, I want to make money on YouTube and blah 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 blah. And then I went with the approach of, rather than, okay, I want to do videos that are fun for me and things that I find that are helpful for the community, or things that I just want to tell people. So I looked at Rift, and Rift had close to new lore videos. Which was super upsetting, because Rift is actually a very kind of cool game. Especially because you get to build like the character that you want and everything. It's a shame that the game is pretty much dead at this point and is kind of like an expensive cash shop. But it has some really cool environments. I just wish that they would have upgraded the graphics a little bit. But in general, Rift didn't have any sort of lore or videos going on for it. So what I ended up doing was I took a second, I studied it up, because I'm a lore junkie. I love storytelling in video games, especially if done correctly. So I looked at those videos and I was like, okay, let's make some stuff. So I looked at the Bloodstorm, I looked at the F, and I made these videos about it. And as you can see, I posted it on some forums and on Reddit, and they kind of exploded. This is also how I got shadow banned on Reddit, because at this point I found out, oh, I got a lot of views from this, so I started posting a lot of my videos on Reddit, and I ended up getting shadow banned, which kind of blows. But I was young, I was dumb, and to this day I can't get unshadow banned, because almost every single post I've ever done was advertising my YouTube channel. So it's a little rough for me to get back on Reddit, but I used Reddit as a way of advertising back then. And I still do it on occasion today, but I have to do it following the rules of stuff. So, important note, if you do advertising on Reddit, make sure you follow what they specifically say. I kept posting my videos, and that's how I got shadow banned, but on occasion it sometimes works. Next I did more gaming updates and whatnot. Once again, I got it goes from Magic the Gathering Tactics down to Magic the Gathering, and then it gets rid of the part, which, it's like, why? Now, this was a good time when I did a channel update. As you can see, there's constantly a lot of videos in between, so it made it very easy going in, and I waited a whole month, so that's an appropriate time to do a channel update. Also, the titles are getting a little bit better and crisp, even though we kind of screw up here. Okay, now this is my first official big video. This video was big because it was right when Siege of Orgrimmar came out. I recorded the cinematic of both sides. I put it together, I added a nice little transition, and to this day I'm one of the biggest videos for that cinematic, just because I captured both of them and I made it look really slick. It had a nice title, it was made at the appropriate timing, had the correct tags, it got a lot of likes. Obviously you can't monetize it. I tried to monetize it. Luckily I didn't get a copyright strike. That would have been really bad, but luckily that didn't happen. And then what ended up happening was I made this, and this is when I started getting a lot of subscribers, which is kind of weird because, a cinematic isn't even me. I didn't even make it, but people really enjoyed that I did that. So one of the things I did was I got a lot of World of Warcraft subscribers from that, so I started making World of Warcraft videos to reflect that, to keep that audience going, and maybe to grow it up a little bit. So I did this next video of WoW Secrets of the Dark Moon Fair. This is a weird video, and I cringe at it a little bit because it's me reading a story and telling about the Dark Moon Fair and explaining some of the weird things that go on with that. It's a nice video, but I kind of did this weird storytelling method, and I kind of like changed my voice into like a storyteller, and I don't know. I thought it was really cringy, and it makes me cringe to this day. But hey, it was a nice video nonetheless, and it kept the WoW audience going. Now next I did some of my other World of Warcraft videos here, so if we actually dive in. I have it muted right now, but this is like me back as like a teenager. Obviously I don't look too different now, I would say. In my ruggedy ass room with my Hooters poster in the background, with my diplomas hanging on that little billboard with my cat picture. Honestly, nowadays I have my green screen and I have my room a little cleaned up and prepared for that, but hey, at the time that was pretty damn good. And you could see how I have a decently good webcam back then. Keep in mind, nowadays technology's gotten a lot better, but back then I didn't have much. And one of the things you'll notice is a lot of it is just me talking into the camera rather than actually showing anything. I think at one point I pick up the camera to show my computer, which is kind of a bad thing, but I thought that was a decent video nonetheless. And people rather enjoyed that one a decent amount. It only got 78 views. The next one I did was this, where I recorded it off of my screen. Just God, I wish I would have never done that. To this day, I'm surprised I didn't get a single dislike. Like, that video should have been disliked to holy fuck. But it is what it is. Next I did a Let's Play of Hearthstone. Again, titling. Could have worked on that a little bit better. It's a decent, it has that like Let's Play, which is cool. But Hearthstone was such a big game. I think I even spelled, yeah, I spelled Hearthstone wrong. I spelled Hearthstone. So, it is what it is. That was roughly 5 years ago, so I would have been roughly 16? 15, 16? Then I did raiding with Dat Noob Guild. I kind of got obsessed with this word noob, and I kept saying it over and over again. I think everybody was kind of obsessed with that. Then I did another fun Let's Play series of DC Universe Online. I think DC Universe Online was such a cool game. I think here's the funny part about DC Universe Online. The character creation and the spells and walking around the world was super fucking fun. But the actual game was boring as fuck. Which kind of sucks, but it was so cool to design a character and like get these powers and kind of make him your own little thing. And I think that was one of the more fun aspects, but they never really made the game go anywhere. So that Let's Play series kind of died off. And once again, I started trying out different stuff. Then I got to the point where I was making my first trailer. And this trailer is pretty awesome, honestly. Like, for back then, it was a really cool trailer. It showed a lot of these different video games that I was playing. Some of them look a little bit boring than that. Like, this one is just me constantly missing. That has the Bandicam logo at the top. That's just me killing a simple creature. It's not even me doing anything cool. That's me raiding and running over to some bubbles. And that's me like walking around this game. And then, yeah. So there's like a lot of like not so cool things in this trailer. If you actually look at it piece by piece. Yeah, like this is me like almost getting owned and me running away. Like, that's not a good thing to show. This is me running. Yeah. So as you can see, there's just like there's not much content going on in that one. But this is also when I started getting into the identity crisis of like Chris Slayer 1 was something I came up with in 2011. So that's something I came up with 7 years ago. So I was roughly 13 when I made that. 13, 12 maybe. So when I made that, it sounded cool. Like I was an edgelord, you know? And then I kind of grew up and like now I'm like I'm 21, so it's like I look back and I'm just like I don't want people calling me Chris Slayer 1. That just sounds weird. No, you know? So I looked back and I started to figure out a different way to brand myself. So one of my friends at school, like right before we had like a morning recess before you go to classes. He was like, "Hey, it's Datcoopguy." And I thought that was funny because, you know, Datcoopguy, but he said Datcoopguy. and then just kind of clicked with me. I was like, that's kind of a badass like way to do it. So I made my name Datcoopguy, and then it had like a nice brand to it. So I kind of figured, okay, I stick with that, and so I did that from there on. This is another part where I was like testing. Like this is the part where I tested and I jumped in and started playing a bunch of games. So this is a Gary's Mod video. I'm surprised it even has 1,000 views. It's just me dicking around, running around, shooting Teletubbies, picking up some Pikachus, and all this other fun stuff. And I thought that was a really fun video. It was me attempting to do a PewDiePie bait type of video. So once again, just testing out things. I did a Let's Play of Skyrim. I did a video looking at the human models, because back then they were releasing all the different models for World of Warcraft, so I was looking at every single individual one. Let's go to page 5. And then if we start going down to here, I did Evoland, so another Let's Play. So I kept doing these Let's Plays, like I kept doing them, just tossing them out there, just to like look at these different games. And it was cool to do that. However, I didn't have a large enough audience for that to really matter. When you're first starting YouTube, you really want to focus on trying to do like more of the popular games. Then you build the audience, and then you show them the obscure games. Or you try to do a review, or you try to do something to show off these games. So, such as Divinity Original Sin, you do tutorial videos, because then the guys coming into this game not knowing anything can look at it and be like, okay, that's how you do this game. Then you can do a review, then you can go on. That's the best way to build an audience. Just doing Let's Plays, it can be a little shaky, but in general, once again, it doesn't really matter. I was having fun back then. Well, I'm still having fun now. And looking at these games and understanding them overall was really cool. And if those 9 viewers had fun looking at that video and bought that game, I did my job well. Next is another video that got big, and this is the part of YouTube that sucks. Okay, so this video got big and was cool at the time. I was showing a video of how the PTR works. I was showing a few images of, hey, this is how the boosts work, and this is how I explained it. Then this video stayed up for a long time as the top viewing thing. So people saw this and they kept looking at it and looking at it, and then it stayed up, and then people were like, what the fuck, it's just looking at the images. Well, back then I didn't have the access to the PTR, and I didn't have access to boosting back then. So it stayed up, and now it has like a bunch of dislikes, which is annoying, especially with some of my older Divinity Original Sin videos before the whole like update with Beast and the dwarves and everything else. A lot of my content is old, and then people will go back or will see that video and it'll be on the top, and then they'll dislike and they'll be like, oh, this isn't updated. It's like, I'm not going to delete the whole video. It got a decent amount of views. Just click the description and move on to the next video. And anyway, that was kind of what was going on with that. Then I did a channel update. I did channel update number 1. I don't like that. Nowadays, I said it was channel update number 1, but that's clearly not the first channel update. So I kind of like lied there, and I only got 5 views. See, at this point, I don't need to do a channel update. I needed to focus on probably making more videos, especially with keeping the hype of this. This is not, like, after you have like a big, huge video, you don't want to keep busting out channel updates. You kind of want to focus on specifically throwing in some extra content in there. Like, I have Doki Doki Literature Club in here. I had my Steam review. I have my channel update. I'm having this video, and then I have a few others also in the mix. So that way it's not constantly just, okay, well, there's nothing going on for about, let's see, 4 days. Actually, yeah, it'd be like 4 days. And then they had to wait a whole another 2 days to actually have anything. So got to make sure that you have the constant flow of content going on. This is actually one of the cool videos where I asked a bunch of my subscribers what are the top things they want in a World of Warcraft expansion. So that was very cool. Asking the subscribers. I would do that nowadays, but I have 800 people I'd have to message. But this was a cool way to get my subscribers back and involved with us. Even though it's only got 46 views, I'm damn proud of those 46 views, because I know those were people that were a part of my subscribers or people who have watched in. And it was very cool to make a community video and be like, hey, this is what people want. And a lot of people wanted to buff their classes, which was kind of funny back then. This is us just doing the hype train for Warlords of Draenor. As you can see, we did a lot of like weird sort of images. I didn't know how to quite do thumbnails, so I would just write text over them like buff please, and then I would add like eyes to Garrosh or something. So that was kind of cool. Then we did another raid video. I started doing this thing called the raid playlist, where I put like music, some of my favorite music, as I was killing bosses, and it was kind of cool. I would still do that to this day. Just in general, really awesome. And then PvP spectator mode, that ended up not even coming out, that expansion, even though they talked about it, so that was really cool. My first giveaway. Okay, let me tell you about this first giveaway. So, I decided to do a giveaway. I think I specifically said to list some of my favorite videos. Basically, I made it to where people did a little contest where they gave me critiques so I could learn how to become a better YouTuber and overall work on my videos and whatnot. Now, what was kind of annoying about this was I did this giveaway, and I was like, okay, you know, just tell me some of the videos you like, or just, you know, give me a critique. Honestly, anybody could have critiqued because I knew this video wasn't going to get that many views. However, I got 5 or 6 messages from kids mainly, and they were just like, yeah, can you give me the beta key? I'm like, you're not even subscribed to my channel. Who are you? So people, and then these kids would actually try to subscribe and would try to take the beta key codes and then would just unsubscribe. And I'm like, no, that's not how it's going to work. And we ended up finally having one person that did the beta key right. So I ended up giving him one of my beta codes. And then one little kid ran off, like subscribed, liked my video, and then got the beta key, commented some really crappy comments, disliked a bunch of my videos, and said, screw you on like literally half of them, and then left, which was kind of a huge F me for that giveaway, which was kind of upsetting. And then the other beta key I ended up giving away to my friend because I was, after that kid ran off and subscribed and whatnot, I was like, okay, you know what, nobody really followed this besides one person, I'm done doing that giveaway. So if we ever did like a giveaway, we'd have to do it a little bit more fancier, especially going in. So that is something that I got really burned from giveaways. Now, if I ever were to do a giveaway again, it would probably be over a YouTube stream, and I would probably just drop the codes in and be like, all right, have at it, have fun. So that's something really cool. Next, we just did a bunch of Let's Plays, and we did a bunch of videos about ESO, Warlords of Draenor, just continuing it on. And as you can see here, it's important to sometimes go back to some of your older videos because you'll find that some of them got copyrighted, or not copyright strike, but like mature filtered. So you constantly want to make sure that you don't have these yellow things up here because that can be really annoying. Because basically you will get maybe 5 to 10% of your audience seeing the ads rather than the whole, like 100% of them seeing the ads. So that can really hurt your income overall. It's not too big of a worry for small YouTubers, but for bigger ones, it can be really tedious and annoying. So make sure you always go back and look at your old videos every once in a while because the whole YouTube AI is kind of on a rampage and kind of screwing over everybody. Okay, now let's talk about the sad story of Heroes of the Storm Alpha. So Heroes of the Storm Alpha, I had one of the alpha keys. And the thing about the alpha was a decent amount of people had them, but nobody was really making videos about it. I was one of the few people that were making videos, and that's why a lot of these have pretty decent views. Some of them have like 100, some of them have like 400. It looks like we got a 2,000 in there. And I was like, well, one of the only people making videos. If I would have kept going, man, and didn't see the potential of what Heroes of the Storm had, it could have went so much better. So I had the alpha, and I only made 3 videos about it. And not to mention, I had really poor titling. So as you can see here, I did part 1, features and shop. I would have just done Heroes of the Storm features and the cash shop. And then I would have done Heroes of the Storm gameplay or something and got rid of the whole part 2 thing. The part 1, part 2 kind of screws it up a little bit. And not to mention, I kind of ruined the whole image by making this really crappy sort of pop-up art. So I can really do better with that now. Also, if you guys don't know, just try to get GIMP. GIMP is like a really good software for photo editing, and it's free. So if you guys don't have Photoshop, I know a lot of people are like, man, I don't have like the freaking $500 to do for the Photoshop essentials and everything. just get GIMP. That's what I've been testing out on. You're going to start noticing a lot of my thumbnails in the future are going to start looking a lot more fresher. It's not going to show up this week. It's going to show up probably next week. But GIMP is a really good surface, I would suggest. And then from there, as you can see, we started doing a lot of other things. Then there's like no videos for a hot bit. Then I do a channel update. Then I start getting back out there. One of the things you're going to start noticing is I really make channel updates after I haven't been around in a while. And not many people even notice them. Like, as you can see. That's how it's always been. Channel updates are very small. You got to build them. So I'm building my personality as we speak. So it's important, though, if you do start doing channel updates, it's probably good to have like a webcam to speak to your audience. That's why I got one myself. Next we did Coop's Steam stream, which is kind of a cool title, but had a decent amount of followers. We only played like one game, I think. So that wasn't really much of a stream. I wish, like nowadays, I do a full stream. Like 2 or 3 hours, like straight. Then we do a Let's Play of RoboCraft. Hearthstone Tavern Brawl with Spiders. Let's see. I think we're at part 4. Are we at part 4 right now? Yeah. So this is the part where the channel is going to really start heating up. And you might have seen some of these videos that are up there. So now we get to the good part. I like to call it the rise from the ashes. The kind of fully understanding how this is starting to work. So one of the things you're going to notice is I start busting out these videos. Actually, I think we're at part 4. Let me look real quick. Yeah, so it's like part 4. So we start making like all these different videos here. I take a huge break. I'm gone for roughly, I think, a year and a half since the last previous video. And what I end up doing is I start doing Star Wars The Old Republic. Star Wars The Old Republic is a game I noticed that had no like tutorial videos that were updated. Most of them were about a year to 2 years old. And I looked in and I was like, how do I use the freaking auction house, the Galactic Trade Network? What is the legacy system? How do I use it? And I try to figure out, well, I want to get all these extra races, but I don't want to spend any money. How do I get a bunch of cartel coins? What is adaptive gear, and why do people keep giving me these gems, and everybody else is picking up these gems, so these quest items are just garbage? So I learned all that, and then I made these videos because there was none in the community. So I wanted to help out the community because I was like, what the crap? How does nobody made a video about this? Like, let me help you guys out. So I was really happy about that. I get a lot of messages about these still to this day of people being like, thank you so much. Like, you made my experience with SWTOR so much easier. Even though SWTOR is like dying off, it's still one of my favorite MMOs. Just story elements are so nice in it. But in general, it's cool. It's cool to see all these couple of thousands of views, just in general, because it's kind of heartwarming. Because knowing that these people all were lost, and now with me making these videos, they've kind of have a greater understanding. Especially, you got this one right here, which is kind of cool. You know, it's got 51 likes, and this trick is really hard to do, but if done correctly, you get a lot of cartel coins. Next is good old Dreadnought. Now this is a story of how to do titles right, ladies and gentlemen. The titles that you see here, do not do that. I did Let's Play Dreadnought Beta Uncut Part 1 Pilot. So it's a title with the title of a game, with the uncut thing, with a part series with another title. Don't do that. It's 3 titles on there with another tagline on there with another tagline. That's 2 taglines and 3 titles in one thing. You do not want to do that. If I were to do this nowadays, I would say Dreadnought Beta Part 1, or Dreadnought Beta Part 1 and then tagline. There's way too many taglines on this. In general, there's so many better titles I could use, but the thumbnail does look pretty badass, so I can see why I got a decent amount of views from that. Now, I say decent because, you know, 70 to 40 is, you know, pretty low, but back then that was pretty helpful. I sometimes I even forget. I'm just like, ooh, I only got like 50 views. But I remember back when I was like a teenager, 50 views was like, whoa, I'm like YouTube God. So that was kind of cool to look at. Now the next one is a D&D guide I did. Now, not many people like this D&D guide. I built this character thinking, okay, how can I make a really cool sort of dark, evil warlock? And I did this D&D build. However, I didn't fully understand what people were really mad about. And now that I go back, I can understand it. People were really looking for like a very strong, powerful build, and I kind of advertised it as that. However, in reality, it was more of a roleplay type character. So I can understand perfectly why people got mad about that. And I do fix that later on in another D&D video, but this is like my first ever trying out a D&D, or trying out something un-video game related that was also kind of geeky. But it did a decent amount. It did what I wanted it to. Now, it was also a learning lesson, but to this day, that build is still not that bad. It's just, it was not what I advertised. And this is when I started to learn, hey, you gotta kind of watch what you say. And I learned that a little bit more when I started getting into Divinity Original Sin 2. Next is good old Hearthstone and all the different SWTOR videos. SWTOR, once again, it was very helpful to just do all these videos, and then I just kind of made like a Let's Play series. But as you can see, I did what I hate doing. I drowned my channel in one thing. So it's important. Obviously, I was becoming the Divinity Original Sin 2 guy, and I got really tired of that. Like, I was kind of stressing my own self out. But here's the thing. When you start making a bunch of videos about one thing, you start to become that guy. So when you make a bunch of Fallout videos, you're going to be the Fallout guy. And then if you make something that's not Fallout, people are like, what the deuce? Why are you making something that's not Fallout? So it's important that I kind of diversify my channels. As you can see here, I just kept going with this Star Wars The Old Republic stuff, and I really wish I wouldn't have done that. Then I started to kind of get out of there again. So I decided to do a couple of Let's Plays. So I did a bunch of Let's Plays, I did a tutorial video, I did a gaming news channel, another tutorial, and then I did a World of Warcraft video. Now these videos were really nice because what I did is the correct use of tags, my friend. Learning how to do tags. So whenever you do tags, what you want to do is a nice little thing called Control-Shift-N. That makes you have an incognito window. Now, I'm not telling you to look up porn or anything here. We're not going there. But what I'm saying is, when you go to YouTube, it is not fabricated to your searches anymore. It is what a average first-time YouTuber would be looking at. So when you start typing in things, it'll show you lists of like what the top searches are for that particular thing. So when I typed in Eon Altar, I got co-op adventure. So I copied and pasted that and put that as a tag, and I copied all these different tags and put them in there. So a nice little helpful tip for people out there, just Control-N and then go to YouTube and then search whatever your videos kind of like, and then put those as the tags, and that should help you out overall with your revenue, and also getting a little bit more views and subscribers that way. I still fail on this sometimes. I'll just like make a video and I'll put like a bunch of tags, and then I'm like, I probably should have put in a little bit more research, but I'm lazy sometimes. I mean, I could be a lot better than I am right now, but I have definitely sometimes gotten pretty lazy. But these videos definitely got bigger. Also, a Steam sale happened, and I think it was a Humble Bundle. So these two games kind of exploded overnight over them. This is an example of what not to do. I just barely talked about the game, and I just walked around and just explained the game. Savage Lands, though, I actually played through the game. I explained the game and I played the game, and a lot of people had enjoyed that. So I did like 10 minutes of explaining, and then I did like 9 minutes of gameplay and then a conclusion. I think that was a very appropriate model going in for what Savage Lands really should have been shown like. So, learning experience from two different things that got a lot of views. Then from there, just a bunch of tutorials. I did another PewDieBait sort of video, just testing out certain things. Once again, all these different things. You can see tutorial videos, you can see Let's Plays, you can see all types of stuff. Just testing out the market, just figuring out what I'm good at. But one of the things we're starting to notice now is that I'm not getting those views of just like 10 and 12 anymore. Every single one of my videos is like 40 plus. So, as you can see, with me constantly making videos, it started showing. Now, one of the things that did happen, though, is if you notice here, we go from 2016 to 2017. There's almost 1 year of no content. And that was one of the worst things I ever did. I lost at least 20 to 30 subscribers. I was at past 100, then I went back down to 70. And what was good was I already got to the point where I can monetize my videos. But back then, that was like, dang, I should have kept going. But I thought I was done with YouTube. I was going to college. I was like, it doesn't really matter. So I started getting back into YouTube. So one of the things I first did was I did a speculation video about Kill Jaden. This is when I started getting back into YouTube. I saw all these speculation videos, and I was like, I kind of want to do one too. Let's go do it. Because once again, I love World of Warcraft speculation. Then I used to be really good at Paragon. I used to be gold and diamond ranked. However, the ranking system isn't even official yet, but I used to be super good at Paragon. So I started making a bunch of videos about that. I would dare say I was in probably the top 100 Fang Mals. Nowadays, I probably can't say that, but the squad I had back then, and the people I had, and the understanding I had of the game above other players that are very, like, different. And then let's go over to third page. So we're getting close to catching up to where we are nowadays. So like I said, you're going to start to notice a bunch of these videos that you probably have seen before. I did a net neutrality video, just trying to have people understand it. It didn't get that many views, but I don't really care. Net neutrality is something I think is an important issue that everybody knows about. This is the D&D video I was talking about. This is the one where I learned from my mistakes. And I said, okay, let's figure out a really solid build character that's not only good in RP, but also really good in general as a character and has a lot of strengths. So I advertised, I talked about it, I explained everything, I knew everything, and I studied my butt off. I knew everything about this character, and then I posted it, and I put it on Reddit, and people loved it. So it's a success story. Now it doesn't have as many views as the older video, but I don't really care. A lot of people were looking at the video and hating it. This one is one that people look at, they like, and they're like, this is a cool way to do a warlock. So then I did another character of Zing's, the Undying. She was a new character. A lot of people didn't really look her up. That's the issue with Paragon. Paragon is a great game, but it doesn't get many views. And I felt like I wasn't really helping anybody because these guides weren't hitting many people, and not to mention, Paragon was changing completely how the system was working. So me constantly making these videos, I felt like I wasn't really going anywhere. So this is a video I did where I was celebrating 100K views. Nowadays, we're at 500,000, so this is kind of like my way of celebrating it with that. But it's kind of funny seeing me celebrate 100K and being like, oh my god, we did it. We reached this milestone. And now I'm like, wow, I have 5 times that amount, and it's only been a couple months. So then from there, we started making a bunch of different videos about the new Paragon update, which was kind of cool. I enjoyed all these. And then from there, the Knights of the Frozen Throne came out. I only did one video about this. I wish I had done a video for every single boss. I think we had a video for every single boss, but then we just kind of fell flat. Then I started doing Divinity Original Sin videos, and this is where you start to see a lot of the cool things happening here. So I'm not going to be reading all these because most of you guys actually know this is most of the time where you guys joined in. But Divinity Original Sin, I started to make my first stuff, and I noticed that there's no tutorial on how to do attributes, and attributes were really confusing back then because strength gave you physical armor and intelligence gave you magical armor, which that's not even the case anymore, so don't worry about taking that to heart anymore. But I ended up making a video about that. I ended up making a video about how to do builds. I ended up doing a video about undead characters. And then what happened here was they didn't update and completely changed everything about the game. And that was when you start seeing all these dislikes. So you see all these dislikes here, and all these dislikes here, and all these dislikes here. One of the things that you'll notice is all these have a lot of dislikes, and that is because, once again, YouTube, as I explained earlier, you get to the point where YouTube doesn't update or doesn't get rid of old videos, so my old videos stayed up. And then because of that, people walked into these videos and were like, that's not true anymore. This is outdated. And I'm like, yeah, I know it's outdated. But look at my channel and go look at my newer videos. But still, then I started adding stuff like archived, updated video at the end. So I added ways for people to look at the updated videos. And that was kind of helpful, and it kind of gets me 2 views for 1. But, hey, still, it is what it is. And then I started making a lot of these also really cool videos, and they started blowing up. Like, these videos all blew up. They're all bangers, as I like to say. One of the biggest ones that got me a lot of views was specifically my kind of themed guides. So what I would do is I would get like a really cool like thumbnail from their sort of origin stories, and then I would take a screenshot, I would edit them, I would use some of my sort of Photoshop and GIMP and a little bit of some other ulterior sort of ways to make a thumbnail, and I would do stuff. Now what does kind of suck is each of these had like these really cool titles. So like there's like a Death Knight that was kind of made in like flames, but then it kind of changed into regular font, and then I had Necromancer that was made in purple, like with a chiller sort of writing, and then that got cut off, then the Dragon Guard as well. But I really enjoyed these videos. These are the videos that really helped out, and it really shows the power of a thumbnail. A lot of people don't realize this, but like if you take like a regular default thumbnail and then you put it up next to one of these bad boys are going to get more clicks in the long run. So that was really cool. And then I did my review of the game, which I was so happy because it's the first time that I really dived in. I made a bunch of videos about a game, and then I was like, hey, I have a decent knowledge, let's make a review. And it was really cool to make that, and to see people not only be like, wow, you know, I really appreciate your opinion and all that, and to see 54 likes on a review compared to the previous ones where we would do a quick look and only get like 72 views, it really warmed my heart knowing that a lot of people looked at that, and they looked at me as a person who was knowledgeable about Divinity Original Sin. Now, obviously we keep going, and there's going to be a lot of other really cool videos, but one of the ones that really upset me was this one. Building a Dual Zerker. Dual Zerker I thought was a really solid build. It's a strength-based build where you get a lot of strength-based attacks. You build upon your strength and whatnot from there. And then what was cool is you got a crap ton of dodge, because you got Parry Master, then you increase your dual wielding, and it would slowly increase your dodge. And then you would have a ridiculous amount of dodge, and then you would partner that up with a character that had leadership, so a summoner. Partner all that up, and you have almost 100% dodge, which is really cool. However, people really disliked that video, and I still to this day do not understand why. I think it's because I tried to do an attempt of making, like, I went with a different approach where I was like, oh my god, this is like one of the best builds ever, and I think that was sort of the wrong approach. I think I should have went with a little bit of a more mature route, and I think that was sort of the problem there. But I'm only human, I'm learning as time went on, but that was one of my favorite videos there. And then from there, we kind of go to where I am today, where we started doing a lot of live streams. We started doing a lot of Divinity Original Sin videos. Now, one of the things I was talking about, though, was how I was becoming only a Divinity Original Sin guy. And I was like, no, we got to start doing some other things. So I did the whole Hearthstone thing. And then I started doing a little bit of streams. Then I made sure, then people started complaining that I wasn't doing enough Divinity Original Sin. So I started tossing in some there. And then people started complaining about it, and I kind of got like a little bit of backlash. So what I ended up doing was that, and I started continuing my Let's Play. So, as you can see here, this is when I started getting to my really happy state, where I got to do a little bit about World of Warcraft, I got to play a little bit of Smite, I got to play some Divinity Original Sin, I got to do my series. This series doesn't get that many views, it's What the Fuck Gaming. It's where we check out weird games and kind of talk about them and just play them, and you got this game called How Do You Do It and Bad Rats, but I thought that was really cool games overall to just be like, what the hell? Like, so we got a few other games that we're going to be checking out with that, but I thought that was really fun. Next is Divinity Original Sin. We did all these, and then we started doing World of Warcraft ones, and then I started doing too much World of Warcraft ones, so I had to go back and start doing Divinity Original Sin, and that was just really cool. And then we started doing guides, and then we have Doki Doki, Steam, and then we have Fort Joy, What the Fuck Gaming, and then obviously, as you can see, Doki Doki's going to be ending really soon. Then we did the face cam reveal, and then we did that, and then we did the other parts of Doki Doki. So, that's pretty much how the channel is going to be going, and also just in general the future. But, you know, going from 70 subscribers to what we are now in a matter of, like, only a couple months, I think that's pretty impressive. I know this has been a long video, but I thought it would be kind of cool because it shows not only my humble beginnings and sort of my amateur starts, because I know a lot of people are really nervous when they first jump into YouTube. They're like, I can never get to that point. You know, if I said, hey, within 3 months you're gonna make 500,000 views, I would have said bull shizzle dizzle. But now I just wanted to show that because it shows kind of the part where we're at now. Now I'm only at 800 subscribers, but who knows what I'll be at later on. But I think that's really cool to see that sort of transformation, because a lot of those famous YouTubers, they cut the old content and then they jump back into the new content, and then they just make themselves like into a persona, and then they get rid of all their past. And I think it's important to show my amateur side, to show, hey, I spelled literally Hearthstone wrong on a title and was trying to get views. So I think it's really cool, but I thought it was a great time to actually look at all this, because just seeing the channel grow and seeing all you guys send these wonderful comments and everything, I think that just warmed my heart. Now, keep in mind, we are going to be doing some bi-weekly channel updates. We did one this week, so obviously showing my face and everything, and showing some of my new equipment, which is a pretty good video. It's got 56 views, but if you guys want to check that out, that video's up there. We are going to be doing a Q&A, so please send me questions. That is going to be down below. There's a personal email address, and you can also send me some for YouTube's sort of inbox. I don't check it all that often, so I can't promise I'll always get to that. But if you send it to that, and then you also send it to my email, I will personally be able to respond to that. And then also it would be really cool, because you have a high chance of also getting your Q&A questions through. Like, compared to other people, you'll definitely have your Q&A questions answered rather than most people. And you can ask me any questions. It can be about life, they could be about video games, they could be about helping you out in video games, and then it could also be about YouTube and sort of the things I've learned, or you could even, hell, give me some advice, or you can even ask me some weird questions. Just please watch the sexual and harmful content, as I will not be able to do all of the things that, or present all the things that are said or sent. But anyways, I thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys next time.